So today we're going to demonstrate this app called the Virtual Tour, and we're going to pick a city to go different places within the city. First, we're going to put an image in the upper part of the screen. So we're going to come over and drag an image over here, and then we'll resize that in a minute. And then below the image, we just want a label to identify what the image is. And then we want an item called a list picker places, so we can pick different areas within the city. There's my list picker. And the next thing we need is a hidden component or non-visible component called an activity starter. And the activity starter is down here. I'm trying to remember where it is actually. It happens to be down here under, I think, connectivity. Yep, there it is, activity starter. Just drag that. Again, it's non-visible. It shows up down here at the bottom. So we need to get like a picture. I'm going to do Boston. So I'm going to get a picture of like the skyline of Boston and put it in for the image. And then we'll put a label in here. The label is going to be, we'll just call this, let's rename the label LBL description, something like that. And then for the text for the label, I'm just going to put in here, discover Boston on your smartphone. Okay, and let's make it bold. Let's make the font size 24. That works. And then let's make the label fill parent and make the alignment center. There we go. That looks nice. And this will come back to the list picker in a little bit. So I'm going to pause for a second, get my image, and bring it back in. Okay, so I'm going to upload my image that I just got off the internet. Boston skyline. There it is. And I'm going to select my image element here, component, and I'm going to go down here to picture, choose Boston skyline. There it is. Looks pretty nice. All right, that's looking good. All right. So forgot to mention over here on the activity starter, you click on it in the component section. We have different properties we can fill in, and we're going to fill in for the action property. We're going to fill in, and it's case sensitive. Android. This is lowercase. Dot intent, again lowercase. Dot action, lowercase. Dot view, uppercase. Okay, so Android dot intent dot action dot view. It's not spelled exactly correct, and with the correct uppercase and lowercase letters, it will not work. Okay, so make sure you get that correct. Okay, next we're going to use this list picker. We need some items in a list. So we're going to go up here to blocks, and we're going to go over here to lists. Oh, first we need a variable. Variable, going to initialize a global variable. We're going to name it place names. These are for the different locations that we're going to view, and we're going to make a list of these. So we're going to go to lists and go make a list. Notice there's a couple boxes here where you can snap in the name of the item in the list. All right. So I'm going to put three things on my list. So I'm going to go to the text, grab a blank text box, drop it in there, and put in Harvard. Oops, cap locks are on. University. Grab another one. This one is going to be MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And then I'm going to click on this little green button here, and I'm going to add another item to my list. Just drag it down into here. There we go. And now I'm going to grab another text box and put in here USS Constitution. This is a ship that the United States made, one of the first ships it made when it created a Navy back in 1797. Still afloat today in the Boston Harbor. Actually, is still considered a commissioned Navy vessel, and there's Navy personnel still serve aboard it for maintaining it and taking it out for runs from time to time. So it's a really cool place to visit. Been there, it's awesome. A lot of history. It's also known as Old Ironsides, if you remember your history. Now we're going to create another list for the map locations of these three areas. So I'm going to right click on here and say duplicate. Just drag it down here. I'm going to call this map locations. And then we need to put the map locations of these three items, and we'll be doing that in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to go into Google Maps. So we'll do Google Maps. Go in there, and I'm going to go to USS Constitution. And we'll just use the museum. The ship is close to the museum. Okay, so actually here's where the ship is in this harbor, and this is where the museum is. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and share this. I'm going to copy the link. All right, we're going to go back to our project, and for USS Constitution down here, this is going to be the map locations. I want to do these in the same order that they're listed here. I'm going to click in there and delete that, paste in the link for it, and I need to do that for Harvard and MIT. So I'm going to pause and come back after I get those typed in there. So now we need another variable to manage, to keep track of what list item we're looking at. So we're going to go to variables, we're going to grab another variable, and we're going to call this list position. And spell it right, might help. And we're going to then go to the math and drag the 0 over here. Remember, in programming language, a lot of lists start with a 0. In App Inventor, lists start with the first element is, our first index is a 1. So we'll set this to 1 to start. So next, I already put the code in here. I forgot to turn the recorder on. So we're going to go to the screen over here, screen 1. We're going to grab the initializer, all right, which I already did, because that, whatever the initialize or the screen 1 to initialize happens when the app first turns on. And then we're going to go to the list picker is where I went next, and I went and got the set the elements, all right, and then we put that inside the screen initialize, and then it went up here to name places and choose get. So then this when its screen is initialized, it takes the contents of this variable and puts them in as the elements of the list picker. And so then we'll have a list of things to pick from. So next we need to do is we need to be able to tell the activity starter which of these items we're selecting from. And so we're going to go back to our list picker, and we need to use after picking. So we're going to do list picker dot after picking, so that command block. It needs to do some commands. So first we're going to set the this initial position is going to equal to the list item that we selected. So from our back to our list, we're going to use this block called index in list. Index, where is it? Index in list, thing and list. So drag that over here. So the thing part is what we selected from the list picker. So we go over here to the list picker, and we're going to go, we're looking for our list picker dot selection. We want to get that. So this light green is the get block. So list picker dot selection. And then we're going to get that list from the global name places name. So get, that goes in there. Okay, so we have our first block of code. So we're going to set the list position equal to the selection in the list picker from the name of places. Okay, so we're going to set that first. Got to have that information first. Then what we have to do is we have to start the activity starter, and we have to set the map location equal to the list position. So the next thing we need to do is we need to bring in under activity starter, we need to go down here and set the data URI. And we're going to set the data URI to an item in the list. So we're going to go back over here to our list. And we're looking for select list item. We specify the list and we specify the index. So come back over here. Well, the list is going to be our map locations. So we have our map locations here. All right. And we need to know what item we picked from the list picker right here, which is going to be stored in the list position. So we're going to get the list position. Okay, so this first part sets the list position index. Remember, index start with 1 in App Inventor. So it sets the list position equal to the selection in the list picker, okay, from the places, place names. Okay. So, and then these, again, remember, these three have to be in the same order as these three right here. So once we have that list position set, then we're going to say we're going to set the data URL, which is basically the website where we want to go. We're going to set that based on the list called map locations. That's this map locations. And we're going to get the list position from here. So if I'm in my app and I click on MIT, that's list number 2. So that's going to come in here. It's going to say, okay, go to map locations, go to index number 2, and it's going to launch this website, right? And then in order for it to actually work, got one more step under the activity starter. It's called start activity. So I drag that below the set. So those are the 3 things we have to have in order for it to work. Now, there's a couple more things we want to clean up. So that's really all the code, which is not that complex, but this stuff is all new, so it's confusing. So let's go back to the designer, and we've got this picture here in the middle. So I'm going to, again, go to the image. I'm going to set the width to fill parent, and and I want to go down here to the list picker, and I want to put some text in there, and I want to update the text on this one to Discover Boston on your smartphone, or not the text in the list picker. So with the list picker selected, what I want to do now is set the font to bold, font size, let's try 18 points. And we're going to set the height to 60 pixels. These are numbers I've tried out, so I know they should work. And we're going to set the width to fill parent. And there is no image, but we do want to have the text. So we're going to scroll down here to where it says text. So we'll delete that. I'm just going to type in, click here to select a location to visit, period. It will bring up a Google map, period. Okay, there it is. And again, the text is centered, right? Down here, text is centered. So there's my text, my list picker, my little label here, and then my picture. So we're all ready to go. So I'm going to save this. And then at this point, you would want to test it, obviously, to make sure it's working correctly. And which I can't show you on my screen because my emulator doesn't work. If it did, I would show you. But so basically, when you launch the app, you have to click on this button here. That will then bring up the three names, these three: Harvard University, MIT, and USS Constitution. It'll bring those up, make those available to see, because this screen one dot initialize sets the list picker elements to the global place names. That's these names right here. Okay, so then after you click on one of the items that come up in the list picker, it sets the index to the item you clicked on, and then this one says, okay, I'm going to get the map location for that item at that index, whatever that index happens to be. Then I'm going to start the activity, which basically opens up Google Maps, where you can then click on the directions button and get directions to a specific location. Okay, so that pretty much finishes our app. I hope this video helps.